Well, thank you for having me, everybody, and welcome to Deleting Production. And as we all know, it's because it worked in development that we're trying this out today. And my name is Matt Vail, and I've been in the industry for about 14 years, worn a lot of hats. I generally take the personality of doing something till I get bored with it, and then I try something new. I've been a software engineer, DevOps, IT, ETL, infrastructure engineer, SRE, architect, and military communications. My current hat that I wear is software product and platform engineer with data and AI, where I build software solutions for clients and implement Gen AI tools, hopefully responsibly and to the best I can. You can connect with me either by LinkedIn or if you want to follow today's session. It is interactive at I Delete Prod, or you can go to the CloudFront link if you pull out your phone and join us at the webpage. I'll leave that up for a few moments so everybody can participate. For both those here and online, when you go to the webpage, it will take you to my React webpage, and you can add your own contact information. You'll see hit the search button in the search grid, which will populate your data immediately. Yes, I know, my QA has already told me that this should refresh automatically, but that's a feature and a future enhancement. So give everybody time for that. I'm going to bring up that web page real quick. So as everybody's doing their stuff, this is the web page that we're going to be deleting today. Today's purpose is to be able to successfully delete this and bring it back with the data there. Now, I like to make sure that I am being held to accountability with this talk because this talk is very sensitive. You're deleting your production environments. Therefore, I hope you hold me to the accountability of adding some information in there so you can see that I'm also going to bring back your data in lifetime. A few things about production environments while everybody plays with their own data. And if I can get to the right PowerPoint slide, is productions are real-time environments. They are meant to serve as data platforms for client-specific needs. Generally, they are a madhouse of items and serve as a moneymaker. Lots of times, production environments are chaotic, even if we keep them clean. We're very cautious about them. Another production and prod implementation device is a pointed implementation that may have an electric current that flows through it that your boss may use to motivate you or spouse. And last, it's really whatever anybody calls it, because in my opinion, production isn't a specific term. It's not a specific environment. It's not specific rules. It's whatever you make it as. I've seen plenty of clients and customers who build out dev environments that they call production after about a year because everything's in there. So, going back to our website, a few of you have possibly started adding things in here. Website up and running. Oh no. Go back where I'm on the right one. Oh no, we didn't get internet. So I believe I have that internet code. Bear with me as we have technical difficulties. So a few things as we talk through it. I want to tell you about my environment. I'm going to pull this up so I can maybe multitask. My environment today is a CloudFront distribution that hosts my React web app in an S3 bucket and uses an API gateway that's connected to a Lambda function that hosts my data in a DynamoDB. See if that connects me. Not. Or backup. And I apologize again about the technical difficulties. That was my fault for not confirming it. And we will need internet access, so. Say again? It took you 2 tries. Oh, wow. That's not okay. Let's do this, because I already know I got it up. So we're connected. Let's see if we're connected. This is the best part about this presentation, is reacting live time to what's going on. And that is 100% why I do this presentation. It's because when you're doing a live event, you're with a customer or a client, or you're working on your own system, things happen. And this is a prime example of how we've got information now. It went down, reconnected the internet, my stuff's up. So take you through my environment a little bit. Again, I said it was a CloudWatch. I'm currently using a Lambda function in the background. But what a lot of people don't, I think about is how we're deploying these rapidly and throughout our days. Kind of take you through my environment for a bit. I have this serverless, which is deploying my backend. If right now you're entering all your data, it's in the backend, we would probably have some kind of system in the backend that would automatically back it up for you. However, for today's session, like I said, I promised you I would back up your data, so that's what I'm going to do. Just like that, I have your backup, and if I was to go into my file and I went to books, because bad naming standards on my part. Oh. Format it, you can see that I have now all your data. I will be selling this to Google later. Thank you very much for the 2 pennies. Anywho, back to the presentation. So we have a serverless YAML, which acts as my infrastructure as code for this. It allows me to spin things up on the fly. You know, I'm tired of this environment. It's already bothering me. I have a Pulumi front end, so it deploys out my cloud front and on my front end. So if I go to my next script and I said, you know, I'm tired of Pulumi down as well, you can start hitting this endpoint, and it's going to immediately start telling you that this is down. Now I'm going to stay logged into my AWS account. I'm going to go over a few topics. But first, you know, as everybody would tell you, I like stories. So true story, there I was, minding my own business. Spam, spam, spam. My boss keeps emailing me. That's probably a bigger spam. Urgent, for internal communication only, and report if you have been affected. Immediately, we knew something was incoming. Our company had been hit with a ransomware attack, and they had been pretty successful in their endeavor. They were telling all of us to stay off the network. You do not want to be on the network. You will be encrypted. End of story. No, not really. That endeavor taught me a few things. The first 12 hours. First 12 hours, the hackers infiltrate your systems. They access your information. They attack, delete, destroy. They do everything in their power to hold you ransom. And then they isolate you. They ask you, hey, are you going to pay us our money? And by the time that I had gotten my email saying, stay off the VPN, it had already been 12 hours. So the initial panic happened. Everybody around us was worried. We were in a reactive phase. And what's important about this is most attacks, people just don't see them coming. So that kicked off what happens next. So there's a statistic that says it takes 21 days past it to deal with that kind of attack. And it's 100% true. We spent the next 30 days rebuilding our systems. These were about 16-hour days where we would go to work, we'd do our normal coding, and then we would go to recovery efforts. We were trying to keep the business running while rebuilding the business as a whole. And during that time, I started having conversations with my coworkers. And along those conversations, one of them was, this is taking us so long because we don't have infrastructure as code set up. We don't have this set up. Our internal environments are set up manually. We should be treating all of our stuff like cattle and not like pets. So that was the lesson I learned, and I got to thinking about it. It was like, well, how does that actually work? But to kind of really nail this down with ransomware, there's some fun facts that I do want to share with you. In 2022, there was 236 million ransomware attacks. That's about 0.50 seconds, 0.05 seconds every time. Organizations have dedicated nearly $500 million in ransomware attacks. Ransomware attacks account for about a fifth of all cyber attacks. Kind of get where I'm going? They're going to destroy your data. You need to be prepared to destroy it yourself. Kind of continue on, the U.S. Estimated $7.8 billion in downtime over ransomware attacks, and that was just the healthcare industry alone. We're not talking about science or technology and, Twitter and Instagram. You know if Twitter and Instagram went down, I promise. Oh, I'm sorry, X. It's estimated that in 2031 that ransomware attacks will cost more than $265 billion. Right now, I am telling you, if you can prevent all ransomware attacks, you could be worth $265 billion by 2031. But the volume of the ransomware attacks has started dropping. It's because we are getting smarter and better at doing it, but it is not ever going to be fully preventable. There's nothing that can fully prevent it. It's not if it's going to happen, it's definitely when. So as I said, I use infrastructure as code as a lot for this one because it's one of the key practices when building good and solid softwares. So I like to spin up my environment for you. And we're going to go back to my fun little script. Oh, it makes me say yes here. Oh, we don't care about that. So now that's just going to start telling me you've probably been accessing my webpage, hitting search, trying to add things, realizing those features are not working. I'm making that one go away. Now, I'm going to do something a little bit better. And I don't want to use this one because I have one where I can just push up a few times. So first, I'm going to point out that I am on a new AWS account. And for all those watching at home, specifically, that is this right here. I'm going to come back. There's 7454. Next, I'm going to point out I am running a script called bash deploy all prod demo 1. And what that is doing, it is telling my deployment script. Normally, this would be something that you have set up in your CI/CD pipeline, GitHub Actions, I've heard of people using a wide variety of things. GitLabs, you could have this set up in there. However, today we're going to do it locally because you know what? It makes me look really cool to hit a button and enter. You know that's going to take a moment. So we'll go back to the presentation. We're going to let that deploy. I'll come back and show you that code here in a moment and demystify what I'm talking about. So at this point, man, I keep hitting the wrong button. I apologize for everybody watching, as the technical difficulties and the buttons are just not there for me today. So kind of wanted to talk about how we treat our production environments. And when I was talking about this with peers and I started to notice that we do a lot of interesting things, and I'm going to start seeing some head nods probably as we hire professionals on the subject matter. We're going to hire and pay people a lot of money. We spend lots of time and money on them. And professionals like, yes, we like this. We monitor them to ensure that they're healthy. They provide treatment. If they get sick, what do? We treat them. We don't just get rid of them. We treat them. They are not tools to us. They are our pets. We love on them. We care on them. We treat them like castle of glass, where changes could result in our whole company going down. And with ransomware, you realize it will go down. We try to keep them around forever. I have been around and heard of systems that they had turned on 20 or 30 years ago, and they still have yet to turn them off today. And they say, it's not a matter of when, but when it goes down, we'll shut down our company. That is bad practice. If you were saying that, then you were completely going against everything that you should. We make excuses for their shortcomings. Yeah, but my aunt or my uncle built this database, and I inherited the bug that my mother created, which I don't think is the real definition of C# inheritance, but it could be. And most importantly, they become the hardest relationship to maintain at work. And if you ask me, I would call it the most toxic relationship that we maintain at work. And it's because we constantly go through this rigmarole of, who can get in production? I remember first time I walked into a server room, I was told, don't sneeze, don't cough, don't burp. Okay, why? Because you can't fix anything you break in here. You're not educated enough for that. Okay. So I take a different stance. I say how we should treat these are our tools. This is just another tool set in my belt. This is another wrench. This is anything that I have around me in my shed when I'm building a new shed. Because why not? If it breaks, can I fix the tool in a reasonable amount of time? I'm not saying that you don't spend time working on your production environments. I'm saying, can you fix something with it reasonably? If not, move on. Replace them. Go to Home Depot, buy you a new tool, and replace that, which comes down to a key component. Can you replace your tool? If you use a different style of tool, can you replace it? I'm not saying you have to be serverless or cloud agnostic. Cloud agnostic, to me, in my opinion, is just a fancy way of saying we're going to cause an engineer more work than what he needs. It's okay to be cloud agnostic, but just realize what you have, and when you swap it out, realize how to do it. Does the tool do their job as needed, or are we having to do extra work? I shouldn't have to get into my database once a day and clear the connections out in order for the database to work. If the connections are not clearing out of my database, something's not configured or set up right. Go through these configurations with the subject matter experts to make sure they're reliable and that they're set up correctly. And if you replace a tool, all your other tools shouldn't stop working. Just because I've replaced my wrench doesn't mean my saw stops working. It doesn't go outside and start striking saying, hey, the wrench was my best friend. It's a tool. You replace it and you move on. Think of it as a tool. So, how do you plan of action something like this? It's like, I'm telling you, hey, go do a lot of things you know you should do. Listen, think about best practices. Think about building a new environment. If you don't know anywhere else to start by building you a new environment. Can you do what I'm doing today? I have just clicked a button and I'm building a new environment. Next, deploy your services. Deploy them rapidly. Build CI/CD pipelines. See how they're going to work. Document this stuff very well. And when it's working and you have all the dependencies, you know what the network, the hardware, the security, the data recovery looks like, anything that is hard-coded, you need to know all of that. And when you have that really well documented, start syncing with your team to build a strategy to automate this stuff. Automation is key in our industry, especially with AI coming out. We're going to be responsible for keeping up with the AIs because already, as right now, we have AI tools like GitHub Copilot, which I do use and did use on building my stuff out. That is a wonderful tool to assist an engineer that they're going to start asking, why isn't this automated? And honestly, ask yourself, why is it not automated? And ask the team, is it worth our time? Update your processes with CI/CD all the time. This should be a religion for you. You should think, I got to deploy a new service. How do I implement that into my pipeline, and how do I successfully recover? Can it handle me destroying my environment and rebuilding it from ground up? If it can't, revisit your design. So, again, I have a few best practices that I like to keep in mind when I talk to people about this. When I go to CEOs or CIOs and I say, hey, can I delete your production environment? First is a DevOps mentality. That does not mean to go hire a DevOps engineer. That means the team should be breaking down those information silos, creating pipelines, and building resources together. The software engineers, the front-end engineers do need to understand how their stuff works and acts in the back end with the services that attach to them. Second, rule of thumb, never click to set up our prod environments. And use hard-coded values. This is infrastructure as code at the core. I have a firm belief that your dev environment is truthfully your dev machine. The second you remove your dev machine and you go to a cloud environment, you are automatically in prod, even if it's called dev. Deploy your code to dev, then deploy it to QA, then deploy it to whatever else environment you have before the environment you call production becomes production. Because let me tell you, if you have 4 environments, you can always back up and go restore it to another environment if they're all the same. That means you could actually limit the downtime that I'm having today, which is about 10 minutes. Probably why I'm talking so much. Least access. Don't let people in the prod environment. It's just like when they let me in the server room. Yes, least access. And I don't say this because, oh, I don't want people to get in there and learn it. No, I say this because you're going to have number 2 happen the second you let somebody in there. They're going to start clicking around. They're going to change your environment. Now your environment can no longer be deployed on the fly. Keep people out of your environments. I'm going to point to something called the 12-factor authentication best practices, or 12-factor app best practices. This includes making sure your code base is set, dependencies, configs, backing services, build, release, run, definitely do yourself a favor and check it out. Chaos engineering, delete your production environment. Delete your environments religiously and see if there's anything you need. If you need people involved, ask why you need them involved. Do I need IT to set up me networking? If that's a real clear factor and that is a breaking change for you in your organization, go ahead and communicate that with them and everything that you need every time you need to set it up. That way, if you go through a ransomware, it's a playbook for them. You have your playbook, you have theirs. We're not ready to be set up till IT spins us up an environment that has 10 VPCs in each region. That's a breaking factor, that's a dependency change. You have it documented. You're going to be able to communicate that up. You're going to be able to get through your stuff a lot better. Limit dependencies is a big thing for me. Don't have dependencies all over the place. Your authentication, your authorization services should not depend on each other. And if they do, that's a circular dependency because at one point, both of them are going to pop. And if they both require each other, then you're just going to be sitting in that infinite loop. And while I do like infinite loops, it's just not good for us. Use industry best practices. We had somebody speak today on industry best practices prior to me, Chad. He did a wonderful job, so I'd say go check out his presentation and look up industry best practices. And last on this list is D&DDR. That is literally gamifying breaking your stuff. Sit down, break your stuff, talk it out. You know, if we deleted our production environment today, what would happen? Break it down like a D&D session, roll the dice, see what happens. If somebody says, oh, I would just rebuild infrastructure as code, roll the dice. A 10? Probably not going to work. Break down everything you would troubleshoot going into it. This helps the team build. It helps share knowledge. And it's a fun way. Order pizza, have a good time out of it. It's a great way to build team camaraderie. Again, my name's Matt Vail. We have production. I was going to show you my production, right? I'm messing with you. I didn't forget that. Been talking about it this whole time. So I'm going to go back to this. It looks like it's still creating. However, this is a real good example of what's all going on. So while my environment's still creating, and I still got 7 minutes, so I can show y'all some of the behind the work scenes, is that script is actually only running a script that I have at the top level here called deploy all. And a lot of times in your GitHub account, like your actions or in your GitLabs, you're going to have some kind of script or file, a YAML file most likely, that's going to run your stuff. And you're going to look at environments, configuration settings. You're going to note those down. You're going to limit those down. I believe the speaker before me was saying is ask yourself if you need them, and if you don't need them, get them out of there. If there's a base config, configure the base config. I'll ask if I got that right as I look at him. He's shaking his head yes, and for everybody online, he's shaking his head no. Notice that I added a little extra line here. That's because as I went through testing it, I realized something really cool. I forgot to add that. I forgot to add demo. So what did I do? I added in a safety check for myself. If I forgot to do during this presentation, I wanted to do it. I forgot to back up my data during one beta run. I have a note about that somewhere. I also have like deploying out what I'm doing. And this is just to show, hey, I'm going through it. But in reality, all I did is run the serverless command. And I said, hey, deploy my output over here. I parsed that data here, saying, hey, go get me my URL because we're about to get a new CloudFront. And for those who are familiar with AWS, all that's doing is it's taking a copy of my API, my REST API, my React app, and it's hosting it on an S3 bucket or just a file system. And then it's distributing it to hundreds of endpoints around the world. Yeah, I didn't know that I was distributing stuff to 100 endpoints as we're talking. I'm joking. And then it's seeding that into my env file, and then I'm building my React app one more time, which takes about 4 seconds. And then I pump that back up. My CloudFront distributes it, and as we're talking, it goes through and sets it all up. If I did something right, then it would be going through right now. CloudFront can take up to 10 or 15 minutes. Every time I've run this, it's been about 5 to 6 minutes, so I won't bore you with keeping it up. However, I can go ahead and restore your data. So that's the next thing. As you're going through this, you're going to start to ask yourself, well, we can deploy our environment. What's some of the things you would recommend? First, your data. Get your data back up separately. Don't worry about it. If you deploy your stuff and it breaks, because it depends on a third-party service somewhere else, deploy it where it handles those errors gracefully and checks again at a time. Don't let breaking changes happen. This goes back to that circular dependency thing. Second, your data backup should be able to be exported and imported without crushing your data. Your data is just there to help your platform grow. Your data and your platform should be independent of each other. Next, have a guy like me around who will delete your environment, who will come around and say, hey, I think we're doing something wrong. Say something, speak up. This industry, we have a lot of people who know something's not right. But we need to speak up and say this is not right. We need to show the extremes of, hey, when you do something right. Next, mine's a very simple environment. Mine's meant to spin up over 30 minutes. It's meant to make sure that we can go about our business. Oh, look, already got an error. What item? The requested resource not found. I'll troubleshoot that with you guys. But we need to be saying something. So I would normally, if this was interactive, ask if anybody knows what I did wrong, but in reality, I know what I did wrong, which I didn't update my environment. Remember how I said, hey, I'm in a different AWS account. This was on my other one, deleting it out for us. So let's just run that restore real quick for us again. I did no output because I don't like telling my end user what I'm doing. No, in all reality, I just imported that book file that you see here. If this comes up during the presentation, then I'll get back to it. Otherwise, I'll open it up for questions while we wait. All right, so we can either wait for this. I'll post this in chat once it comes back up. It looks like it's decided to take longer than it. I'm running on a slower internet connection today, so I'm sure that that's having something to do with it. However, I'll kind of explore and show things. So remember my AWS account? Kind of show around. Looks like that one's still deleting. And you can see if I go into it that it's deploying because it's taking it down. And we could even sign out. Check that. So if you ever use a CloudFront distribution, there's a trick. And I say there's a trick because if you decide you want to test your stuff out early, there's the ability to come in here and copy that. And you can go to the CloudFront distribution. You can copy that link early because that API is actually really slow. And it's most likely done within a few minutes. It's just, you have to wait for it and get it back up. Now, like I promised, you could always hit my search. Seconds, actually hit. Go. And like that, we have deleted and we have recovered our production. So, thank you for participating today. And again, if you need to reach out to me, please feel free to add me on Twitter, Instagram. I don't have either. That was a joke. I'm on LinkedIn. Have a great day.